Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my Cult Situation Report. I am Daniela Mestenek-Young, scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership, author of a best-selling, critically acclaimed memoir called Uncultured, about growing up in the Children of God religious cult before going into the cult of the U.S. Army. If you are someone who got to read Harry Potter growing up, you might not understand quite the level of Christian extremism that has taken over this government for the time being, and I think this book might be helpful if you haven't read it. You can get signed copies from me attached here, or listen to me read it to you on Spotify Premium or anywhere else you get your audiobooks. Every Friday, I give you a weekly situation report of everything that has gone on in my world of cults and in the world of cults. And today, whoa boy, of course we will be getting to MAGA crashing out, but first we are going to ding dong, James Dobson's dead, James Dobson's dead, James Dobson's dead. I debuted my musical script last night. I'm going to tell you about that and where you can watch it, and some other things. And my assistant takes very funny notes, so strap in. To begin, if you don't know who James Dobson is, you probably had a childhood. But I suspect that about 90 million millennials lost their parents to religious extremism. And much of that is because of this man. And that is extremism flavored like Mormons, flavored like Catholics, and flavored like evangelicals. All. Okay, James Dobson, influential voice of the religious right, dies at 89. And I have never seen a community celebrate a death more than when we were actually deployed during the time that Osama bin Laden was killed. Ding dong, James Dobson's dead. Nobody even had to see it from anywhere else. That's what we all just started singing together at the same time. I think we're practicing for the big, beautiful burial, but for right now, I want y'all to focus on the funeral. James Dobson, the self-styled shepherd of America's Focus on the Family flock, has finally ascended from the earthly congregation at age 89. The child psychologist turned culture warrior started out telling parents to spank their kids for Jesus and ended up running one of the most powerful evangelical broadcasting empires in the U.S., complete with a Colorado Springs headquarters that felt suspiciously like a pilgrimage site. Because what's more culty than a visitor center with a gift shop? Dobson was basically the high priest of the religious right in the late 70s, before Jerry Falwell launched the Moral Majority. Dobson was already building his own faith-based megaphone, railing against abortion, same-sex marriage, women in the workplace, SpongeBob SquarePants, yes, really, and anything else he thought was dragging America into moral freefall. His followers tuned in by the millions, and a single Dobson decree could clog congressional phone lines faster than a Black Friday sale at Walmart. He wasn't technically ordained, but his fiery Old Testament prophet meets talk radio host persona, which is called Trans Talk is a whole nother thing. It's really fun when they invite you. His influence reached presidents, Reagan, both Bushes, and especially Trump. And his 2004 voter mobilization push was so effective it felt like a religious roll call at the ballot box. Dobson preached that the family was sacred, the culture was corrupt, and liberals were leading civilization off a cliff. Critics called him a bigot, but his movement loved him for it, turning him into something between a patriarch and a prophet, and a very disciplined dad. This is what many of these large religious systems that I criticize, I think have done, is taught single families, especially dads, but often moms, to be cults, right? Because cult leaders learn it from somewhere. Often they study at the feet of a parent, like Mr. Donald Trump did, right? Fred Drumpf, huge culty, horrible, horrible man. But then he also studied under Norman Vincent Peale, the prosperity doctrine guru, 48 Principles of Power and How to Manipulate People, a favorite of cult leaders, and under Roy Cohen, who said Trump had ice water in his veins. Okay. Back to the other evil witch who just died. In short, Dobson didn't just focus on the family. He focused on building a following big enough to make politicians sweat and SpongeBob cry. He focused on building a following, just like every other cult leader Bill W. from Alcoholics Anonymous looking right at you. Some people really want to build a following. This is something I talk about in Culting of America, which is available for pre-sale, and all of the packages are pinned here. Please note that only the books in the bigger packages are signed because, well, pre-sales are going pretty good and I can only sign so many books. After the book comes out on January 20th, you will be able to buy the standalone book signed. So, I think it's a huge red flag when people want to build a following, right? This is also one of the things that has made social media guru, blah, 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 thought leader stuff so culty. The obsession with the following and the numbers and the always growing, right? Always upwards and to the left. Sorry, that's entrepreneurship. Okay, so there's been such an emotional response on social media for this. I mean, literally, he taught people to beat their children, right? Like, Americans lost not only their childhoods, but models for how to parent. And so now we have what I call this whole generation of first-generation parents. And we are here trying to raise our children with no models. And by the way, that's why I'm now, like, I'm collecting children's books. I have one of them in the shop right now called My Body is Sacred. And I call them, these are the children's book for first generation parents. Like, we don't have any models of how to do it. We have to figure it out on our own and how to hold space for them. I really, honestly, I'm so proud of the millennial generation. I think we are ending generational trauma with our bodies and our minds and our psyches. And that's why we drink wine. But you know what? Nobody's hitting our kids. Also, stop hitting your kids. The American Psychological Association in 2018 said, the results are in, folks. It's harmful. It doesn't do any good. If it's a crime to do it to your spouse, how dare you do it to tiny, small humans who are totally dependent on you? Please see also that spanking is most often sexual abuse, whether you intend it to be or not. And if that's something you need to discuss with your therapist, you should do that. Because many, many times we don't know why we have the trauma symptoms of sexual abuse. And it goes back to spanking. James Dobson, unfortunately, just got to die by ending life, and I hate that, because I don't believe in hell, but I love that an entire culture is just celebrating his death unabashedly, and I hope that if you recognize the name James Dobson, you did something special for yourself yesterday. If not, I give you permission to do it today. Make a cake, celebrate a death day, do something for your inner child, your strong-willed self that was always fine just the way you were and never needed to be broken. Okay. Coleman Domingo reveals he almost joined a cult on accident. Wait a minute, this is weird. Oscar nominee Coleman Domingo nearly traded in his Hollywood career for matching robes and questionable chanting. On Mythical Kitchen's Last Meals, the actor casually revealed he almost joined a cult in Mexico City a couple months ago. Emphasis on almost, because he caught the vibe just in time. There you go. Sorry. I think that's going to fix the lighting. According to Domingo, it started out wholesome, a nice group of people with smiles and good energy. But then the classic red flag hit. Wait a minute, this is weird. Translation: the Kool-Aid was about to be served. Host Josh Shearer confessed he too recently had a close call. His escape strategy was way cooler. He skateboarded away from cult recruiters like some Tony Hawk of anti-brainwashing. Don't let them get you away, because then they try to not let you leave. Domingo, ever the wise sage, reminds us that cults are sneaky, always very nice at first, like a free Costco sample that secretly locks you into a lifetime membership. He did the research afterward and confirmed. Yep, cult. Standard cult practice. Love bomb before it gets too crazy. Luckily, Domingo knew it was time to dip out. In conclusion, Coleman Domingo avoided becoming Coleman Domingo, the anointed prophet of the eternal light. And for that, Hollywood thanks him. cults really prey on Hollywood stars because it is another cult and they're finding out that fame is empty and blah blah blah, and they're easy to predate. Anything in the space of personal transformation, people are going to show up and be predators. And I cannot emphasize it enough. I wish I could say this to all college freshmen in America. If a group of people is trying to recruit you and everybody is happy and shiny and bouncy, run away. That is appearance and attitude control. Child's death drives churches to call out coercive control and cult-like behavior. In the shadowed corners of Toowoomba, a young girl named Elizabeth Struz became the ultimate price of devotion. Her parents and 13 others, all enthralled by the self-proclaimed prophet Brendan Stevens and his group The Saints, chose prayer over medicine, and I cannot stress this enough, cults always hate medicine. Withholding life-saving insulin in the name of divine healing. They sang, they prayed, and when Elizabeth died, they prayed again for resurrection. Severus, the charismatic architect of this microcosmic theocracy, taught that true Christians must speak in tongues, elevating himself as God's messenger and his followers as chosen above ordinary mortals. This is what all cults do. They all tell you that you are special. This is why I have to make so many new accounts, because they don't like the word cult. It'll be okay. His teachings ensnared families and bright young lives, pulling them into a purity spiral where medical science was blasphemy and absolute obedience was salvation. The tragic consequences has shaken the community. Parents who once tried to protect their children watched them swallowed by the cult's grip. Now a network of pastors and survivors are rising from the ashes, fighting back against coercive control and cult-like manipulation in churches, hoping to shine light on the dark patterns that allowed the saints to flourish. One such pattern is Dennis Lennox, who also used to be the executive director of Queensland Rural and Remote Medical Support. Dennis believes that the coercive control that members of the church experienced is a problem in many areas of contemporary life, saying, in many instances, churches have borrowed the system of power that is used in our world generally, including coercion, domination, lording it over people, and it's replete within our church communities where it should not be. The culting of America. And the central process of abuse of power is deception, and deception works best when it's hidden. The best way to deal with this, in fact, is to expose it to the light, to expose it to the truth, to talk, to build an awareness of power and how it can be abused, particularly in our church and family situations, so that we can redress it. This is why I have no patience for when people tell me that I'm not doing anything but talking. Yes, that's what we can do. We can talk about it and expose power dynamics so that everybody understands them, and then it's harder to weaponize. It baffles me that the Children of God is not the most well-known cult in America, because, geez oh my, could so many of these others have been avoided if we understood these patterns. You, of course, can check out these patterns in my book, Uncultured. Signed copies pinned here. Elizabeth's death remains a grim reminder. The line between faith and fanaticism is razor thin, and in the world of cults, devotion can demand the ultimate sacrifice. I also talk about a brother of mine who died by medical neglect, which is, of course, murder, and have been making some videos because Christian Science decided they wanted to pick a fight with me about not being a cult, and even ex-Christian scientists trying to say it was so mild compared to other cults. And I promise you, children do not get to choose when they leave. And all of the Christian Science children that are dead matter just as much as the children of God children that are dead. Thanks. You can check out my series of those in my Christian Science playlist. Cult of MAGA update. Do we know why Donald Trump was on the roof? Or as Knitting Call Baby said this morning, Mommy, Donald Trump is on the roof and we can't get him down. Is Trump worried about getting into heaven? We had this discussion in book club, which you can access through the Patreon, which will be linked here. This week, we are meeting next Wednesday, we are having a special meeting about purity culture. Is he really worried about getting into heaven? I don't know. I think he's a sociopath in addition to being a malignant narcissist. I think, in fact, probably all cult leaders are sociopaths, because I don't think people with a conscience can manipulate people and destroy that many lives. I think he's just flailing and trying to figure out what is going to appeal to his people. And I don't think anything is right now. He's bleeding people so fast. And it's so nice. Panicking about DC is not the answer. DC is not panicking. DC is protesting. DC is suing over the takeover of the police. And here is the thing I have been trying to explain to people. It's like, cult leaders gonna cult. The people have to push back. And that's what we are seeing. And none of the panic creators that keep comparing us to Hitler and to Germany have I ever seen talk about the fact that Hitler didn't get any pushback. Almost. Why? Because Germans are some of the most rule-followingest people alive, and the circumstances were completely, entirely different. Vance and Stephen Miller tried to go out and see the troops and were just roundly booed and mocked by the people. And y'all, I cannot stress this enough. Mocking a tyrant does not mean you're not taking them seriously. Mocking a tyrant is what you do with a tyrant. That is how you take on a cult leader. The They're So Weird campaign was brilliant, right? What a cult leader fears is not being relevant to people. Donald Trump wants gravitas. He wants his name to be said with the gravitas of Hitler and Stalin, and I kind of hate the fact that he is gonna get it, because he has built the biggest cult. But one of the best things we can do is to mock him. My child keeps asking me if Donald Trump knows if I exist yet. Probably because she's heard me say, first of all, people keep saying that this is a dictatorship and we're cooked. Sit the fuck down. You're not trash talking your leader on the internet if it is a dictatorship that has been fully formed. Neither is that possible with 500 million weapons. But also, our safety is in numbers. Our safety is in being loud American jerks with opinions and with guns. Because if I was the only person on the internet trash talking the president, I would be in a lot of danger. But because there are millions of us, they can't come for us all. And no, I don't want to hear about your drones. Unless you've written a book on drones and been the drone manager of a combat brigade. Someone actually still tried to fight back with me this week, and she's part of the reason that Donald Trump is the president right now, even though she claims to be on the left. Because the death of expertise is so effing real, and there's so much frickin' leftist panic right now that is white supremacist at its core, and American exceptionalism. Now is not the time to panic, now is the time to fight. And maybe study some of the brown countries you've spent your life subconsciously looking down on and how they fought back. Because I promise you, we are not the first people to experience this. Okay. Nicole Collier is being an amazing hero right now and the leader that we need. And I would like to draw attention to the fact that it is once again a black woman leading the fight to save America. I'm actually going to be having a TikTok live with Allison Mitchell for Texas, who's running in Dallas. They're trying to flip 2 last Republican seats in what would be a mostly blue area. We are going to have her on our TikTok live on Friday the 29th at 10:30 EST. And that event is already there. You can sign up for, though it might be on California time. So just note that it's going to change when I get home. Nicole Collier is a very good example. Collier? I don't know. She's a very good example of how, like, fear is contagious, but courage is contagious too. Okay? When one person stands up, other people stand up. And, of course, the book that I wrote about everything that is happening in America and why and how we can see it better is on pre-sale right now, and we can get those attached. Perfect. For those who missed the debuting of my musical concept last night, it went pretty great. It is on my YouTube. At least for some days, if you want to watch it. Don't judge me too harshly, because I haven't sang for real in about 20 years, but I did. It's pretty cool. I mean, I made the thing. It exists insofar as I presented it for 2 hours. I was giving any actual pronunciation. They're just repeating the name spell. So yeah, I presented the whole thing. You can watch it. It is, I talked through the whole concept of it. I played and sang what songs exist with the backup of an amazing band called Wintergrain, which is why we came here to Tahoe and to see them. It is a warrant officer pilot woman, which is, my husband is a male warrant officer pilot, but she was also a military woman, so she kind of, me and him match. And then she's married to an ex-Mormon, and some magic plates told me that they're going to help me write the musical, which of course I will pay them for, because I do not accept free labor, and I plan to make mucho money off of the musical. It was cool. Okay, and so the story of the musical is, I was at Hamilton and I said, I have to be on that stage. That's the culmination of my cult baby life in the performance cult, which is what the Children of God's product really was. I then was telling somebody else about it and said, I don't know if it's going to be, well, it's like, I'm not a Broadway trained singer or dancer, so I guess I got to write a musical. Said, I don't know if it's going to be the Book of Mormon, but for all cult babies, or women soldiers on the stage fighting white supremacy and patriarchy. And I was like, oh, it's both, Daniela. It is both. And then I birthed the concept in a 4-hour sesh last Christmas, and have been talking to you about it and developing it for 8 months, and have written the concept script. And this is something that I like to teach artists, or anyone that wants to make their living from their ideas, is that once you can get your idea out of your brain and onto some form of representation, you can then pay people to help you develop it. Which is, I don't know where we go from here, but hopefully we'll find the right collaborators and figure it out. But the thing that was interesting to me was, I've been making money off my art for a while now, and I have a dedicated following. So I expected you all to say, this is an amazing idea, take my money. But what you all said was, this is an amazing idea. When do I audition? Please, can I write songs for it? How can I knit for you? And I realized that all of the cult babies and veterans, because it is called Cult Baby the Musical, veterans included, need to come sing and dance out their trauma on the stage. So just like when I realized I was going to use my group behavior experience to help individuals and not corporations, and that changed the tactic of how even I wrote Culting of America. It changed the tactic of how I wrote the musical, because I'm kind of writing it as sort of a group music festival protest. It can be different every time. We can add to it. The community is going to be part of it. Everywhere we go, we can get a third rank of actors. I think it's going to be amazing. And I'm going to pay everybody well to be part of it, because that is the value of the Knitting Cult Lady brand, because I don't believe you can ever start a cult, 1, by accident, or 2, if you pay people very, very well, by which I do not mean, here's $350 a year and now I own you. I mean, overly compensate people for their physical, mental, and emotional labor all of the time, whether they try to accept it or not. Okay. I'm going to be doing it again when I get back to the East Coast, because it was just way too late for most of you, and I know that. I was literally here to perform it with these people, which was great, because we didn't have time to rehearse. This was their first time hearing it and also singing and playing along. You can see it on YouTube. It's fun. I'll be doing it again, and then, we'll see. I gotta sell the heck out of this book so I can have money to fund the future projects. But this is what I'm doing. I'm building my media empire. It's going okay. Next, hopefully, we're going to be investing in other people's books, like White Woman Whisperers. Speaking of which, I have a podcast. I have 2 podcasts, okay? I have Cults and the Culting of America, with Knitting Cult Lady and Scott Lloyd, who is a international Pentecostal church survivor. Sorry, I forget the exact wording of it, but I know y'all know. And I have a podcast with White Woman Whisperer called Hey White Women, where we get together and knit and crochet and deconstruct the cult of white supremacy. I feel like they're both very good. Cults and the Culting of America is a guest podcast. So if you are somebody who wants to tell your own story, or who has an area of expertise, but you're relating to the things that I'm saying, then you come on and we discuss your area of expertise through the lens of cults. And it's a good time. You can email admin@uncultureyourself.com if you would like to get on our podcast schedule. And if you would like to have me come on your podcast and talk about Culting of America and what's going on right now, also please email admin@uncultureyourself.com, because we are putting that together. We are planning a Reddit Ask Me Anything AMA, and it's going to be my first foray into Reddit with the QAnon casualties community sometime in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for information on that. Speaking of the podcast, we just posted an episode on cults and the culting of America featuring Jess, a nurse, which was very exciting to get someone to come talk about the culty dynamics of the U.S. healthcare system as a whole, and why so many nurses share their culty experience, but not as many doctors. Nursing is the second thing that gets brought up the most to what I talk about. Teaching is the first. And we have quite a few episodes of teaching on cults and the culting of America as well. On Hey White Women, we might have posted an episode, we might not. I don't have notes and I've been on vacation. Book club last night was super amazing, or a few nights ago this week was super amazing. Please remember that book club, you're welcome to join and listen. Your camera can be on and off. It is a space to talk, to listen, to hear about themes, to get more information. It is not a high pressure environment. It is not a class. I am not the professor. You do not have to have done the reading. You do not have to feel guilty about not having done the reading. Wednesday, the 26th, the last Wednesday of the month. It is 6:30 to 8 EST. There is going to be an individual Eventbrite you can sign up for, or you can register for the $10 subscription for the Patreon. We are discussing Pure by Linda K. Klein, but it is going to be a discussion of purity culture, and I am sure it's going to be overwhelmingly filled by James Dobson, who just died, and the discussion of all of that. It's called Pure, Inside the Evangelical Movement That Shamed a Generation of Young Women and How I Broke Free. It is on audio if you want to listen to it real fast before the discussion. If you're already in book club, but you want to have a friend come in, you can have them come in through that individual meeting as well. This is usually the second Wednesday of the month. I just had technical problems, so we are doing it again. And we know, like, so many people have struggled with purity culture, and this is exactly the right time to be talking about it. So hence we have, like, the special book club. We do have a GoFundMe for the Culting of America and the book tour. Let me tell you a little bit about that. My first book was published by Macmillan. It was a big, big publishing. They put I estimate $200,000 into making that book and promoting that book. I am funding Culting of America, and I am putting a college loan amount of money into making it a very good quality book. There's a workbook with it that we have written as well on cultureyourself.com that I think might be, on Culture Yourself, that I think might be the best product of all. I thought we were doing a little companion journal, but we actually sort of wrote a full deconstruction workbook. Maybe you'll know some MAGA people that will be needing to work on that in January. So we just did a little mini tour. This is our last unpublic stop. Our last public stop was in Pacifica outside San Francisco. We're calling it the PDSS, the Pre-Deployment Site Survey, which is in the Army. Before you go take an entire brigade over somewhere, you send your leaders to figure out what you're doing. And we figured out a lot of stuff. One is which the Knitting Cult Mobile probably needs to have Wi-Fi in it. 2 is you all really don't like the shaky camera. 3 is video mediums are really bad for putting information out to everybody. So these are all things that we are going to work on. But we also got some great feedback. Like, people in 2 countries will come out and see us, sometimes in huge numbers. 70 people in Seattle. Hey, Seattle, our old home. 40 people-ish probably came out in Portland, but 100 people signed up. And about 20 people came out in San Francisco. I'm probably going to be doing book events in all of those places, almost certainly doing a brothel-themed book event in San Francisco in March with The Glory Hole, who has a Seventh-day Adventist memoir coming out, The Glory Hole. And by popular request, I added a Seventh-day Adventist line to call it what you want to. It's Seventh-day Adventist, call it what you want to, call it what you want to, call it what you want to, and I'll call Tate the dentist, call it what you want to, call Tate medical care. So, and I will certainly be coming. Need to come to LA and San Diego. I know I need to come to Chicago and Boston because you all beg. I know I need to come to the Midwest, but I don't even know if I know what that means. We will not be coming to Florida because it hates women. We'll probably not be going to Texas, but I'm technically from there, so who knows. And we are probably in the fall going to be in Raleigh just because we have a knitting cult mobile and we want to go do some stuff there. So we will probably do a pop-up event. We know for sure book party in College Park, Maryland on January 20th. That is already something you can sign up for, linked here. Book party in New York City. So that's my big book launch in my hometown, my current hometown. Then we will have book launch in New York City with White Woman Whisperer. We will have book launch in Asheville, North Carolina, with co-writer Amy Reed and publisher. All of these will be space travel themed, right? Because cults always promise space travel. We have those stickers in the shop. And the one in Asheville, I want it to be space travel themed, but also salsa dancing. So I'm going to try to make both of those happen. And then we will be in New Orleans having an amazing space party. And that's what I know for now. Probably San Francisco. Again, all of this I have to fund by myself. So I'm trying. I will do it with more operations and more planning and more notice. That is for sure. It was also just very humbling that we could go to so many different places and people came out to see us. Like, thank you for caring. Thank you for reading my book. Thank you for being part of this community, creating the language for what we lived through and deconstructing and trying to end the generational trauma in so many different ways. That's what I got. I had to give away the sunset coat because the owner of it came and drove 2.5 miles to see me. She's also the owner of the Aurora Borealis coat, which I'm making right now. I was very sad to give the sunset coat away. I brought it to like 3 events so people could visit with it. I'm gonna do an entire video of the crafts that I made while we were traveling and the thrifts that we thrifted. But look, these are little tassel earrings that I made with fabric. As soon as I realized that fabric tassels were a thing, I was like, oh boy, we're gonna have matching scarfigans. I have all these things I can do with this was literally a t-shirt of my child's. And then I made this amazing one. I got this necklace at the African Art Museum and in DC, and I had to do it so it didn't cover up the beads. So I sort of figured out this way to do that, and it's like I've been wearing it for like 5 days straight. I love it so much. Yeah, if you're interested in a coat, I sell my basic cult coat for $300. I sell these bigger fadey ones for about $400 to $450. It is well worth it, even though I know it's pricey, but therein is Yarn Crafts. I'm also going to have something from Knitting Cult Mama in the TikTok shop that one person will be able to get. But this is even part of for everything I do, I like to create systems. I systems think and I language think, and I'm creating systems for women or anyone really who wants to write their book or create their art and do it outside of the silly patriarchal models. Like, if I had said to any of the big 5 publishers, I want custom knitting needles that look like swords with my book Culting of America, I feel like I would have been laughed off the face of the planet. And I have sold so many of those. Like, Knitting Cult Baby is already getting $1,000 in her Roth IRA for coming up with the idea. And as soon as I said it to my woman, Navy veteran, fiber arts, salsa dancing publisher. She was like, what size, what color, how are we? Yeah, like, ladies, everybody, you can do what you want. There is a dude. He looks like a pretty ex-Mormon boy. He reads 1-star reviews of hotels and flights and restaurants, and then he goes to them and he experiences it, and he has to write a 5-star review, but he can't lie. And when I tell you, I sat with my kid and watched this for 3 hours, and he was flying on the most expensive airplane that you can have that has a shower and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, y'all, you can do anything. Do you have a niche area of expertise? Because I promise you, we didn't know the market for knitting and talking about cults was this good. So if you have a passion, and especially if white men tell you that you will never make any money doing it, please do not listen to them. It is admin@uncultureyourself.com if you are trying to get a hold of me for basically any reason. Megan, we have a Virgo because the rest of us are Geminis. Actually, we have several Virgos. That's all I have for now. I'm not going to sing the song again, but go check out the musical if you want to see that. It's about 2.5 hours. We even break a real glass. And we got very real with it. So I want more comments. And I still wish I could go back and see all the comments that came in live, but people were essentially like, this is epic. How do I be a part of it? So super excited. Now I'm going to go back to enjoying a little bit of Tahoe before we drive for 6 hours, and then sneak through Salt Lake City and try to make it to the airport without being mobbed by ex-Mormons. It's going to be fun driving the Culting of America van through Utah. I am so excited. As ever, y'all, I am Daniela Mestenek-Young. There are some things I can show you. This is my Rainbow Girls series. I always say this was uncultured before I found the words. Whoops. That one is called Stolen Potential. That one is called Who Am I? That one is called Whoever the F I Want. And that one is called Healed. And you can get all of those as a set or individually in the shop. Somebody already asked if we are going to have signed prints of the cover. We are. That is probably going to be what we do for Black Friday, and also to make the book giftable, because the book itself is not coming out till January 20th. We are doing it as fast as we can, but we also know that people want to gift it for the holidays. So probably we are going to have a art print that will be signed that you can order. We will be able to do it on TikTok and other media as well. That print will ship. You can keep it for yourself. You can gift it to a friend, and it will have then codes for you to redeem your hard copy. All of the hard copies, if you buy them from me, whether in a package or not, are going to come with the digital, which has all the links to articles, and the audio, which will be read by me soon. And you are going to get those in December. So you're going to get those before the big launch. So, and it's for the same price as you'll get the audio from, or the hard copy from, like, Amazon. So, but also if you do buy it from Amazon, please leave an Amazon review once you get to read it. And yeah, so pre-sales really matter the most to big authors with big publishers because they're trying to make the New York Times list. I am less interested in that, but pre-sales right now are mostly just telling me right now, yes, I can plan some travel, or at least these 4 big parties that we're going to throw, and then hopefully continue to go from there. One last thing that this tour really taught me was that with some planning and preparation, we could probably book out 300 seats, like for a musical. My broad plan is to debut Cult Baby the Musical, veterans included, in Salt Lake City on January 20th, 2029, when that man leaves the office. So stay tuned for that. I have been living in an RV for the last month because we've just been on our little family vacation. We have seen a lot of the country and a lot of the people, not that much of the actual cities, because we have gone pretty far pretty fast. But it's been fun and interesting, and Mr. Knitting Coat Lady would be very happy as a truck driver if he could just take us with him. Plus, if you want a good way to force your preteen child to do crafts with you for several hours a day and get off screens. You know, driving in the middle of mountains with no connections is a good way to do it. But if you wonder why you've seen so many fewer videos from me, it is really because this is my job and I treat it like my job, and I have been on vacation. So you've only been getting a little bit from me. But, you know, gotta still have the situation report. How else will you know what is going on? Thanks, and see you all next week.